Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. In today's video, we'll be covering the new 10.1.5 PTR Warlock Sims, I guess were implemented last night, to Destruction and Affliction. Now, it looks like Demonology might be implemented. I'm not sure as of yet totally, but at the same time, with the changes they put out, and there hasn't really been any tuning based around Demonology, barring buffs, I'm going to hold off on that for now. But either way, Destro and Aff, big Crashing Chaos news, Doom Blossom news, all that kind of stuff for Aff. Interesting to look at, and all kind of stuff tonight. So yeah, that will be tonight's video. Like always, week wars and add-ons, if you want them, links down below to Twitch and Discord, we'll offer free for you guys. To a similar extent, up here, social media links, Twitter, Patreon, if you like support there, which I greatly appreciate. And yeah, let's get right on into it. All right, so getting into destruction stuff. Now, this is my character's current sim from retail. I copied it over to PTR earlier just to make sure they're wearing the exact same gear and everything else. Yeah, I don't know. Gear's the same. We are indeed simming with full raid buffs on Ominous Chromatic Essence here, which if you're in a raid setting, you should have for the most part if you're playing this Trinket. If not, it is what it is. Sims do change a bit based on builds and class Trinket and things. We'll highlight that when we get to them in a minute here, but this current build is playing Iridius Fragment and Chromatic Essence, being a 3-minute build of Destro. This is my single target sim, 132, 351. Now, so the big question on PTR has been, for Destro, what is the best build? Is Crashing Chaos worthwhile? How does it look? All the sims. So briefly, before we get into that, this is my current damage profile with this build, right? Now, it's 3-minute Infernal, on pull with Bloodlust and everything, hitting about 260k roughly with Infernal, Bloodlust at the 3-minute mark, roughly, right around there, give or take, about 180. DPS wise, right? So here I have the sims from PTR with Crashing Chaos implemented and what looks to be the highest simming build of Destro, which is Crashing Chaos, Grand Warlock's design, and 1 point in Burn to Ashes, both being a 5-minute, 1 boss target sim, both playing Corrupting Rage. Everything else is the same here, being ahead by about 3,000 DPS, playing, for those that want to see it, this build here. So you're playing Infernal, 2 points in Crashing Chaos, a point in Grand Warlock's design. Embers, Chaos Incarnate, you're playing Madness, and you're playing 1 point in Burn to Ashes. Now, I did indeed sim 2 Burn to Ashes, and I think no Grand Warlock's design, no Embers, all that stuff wasn't as good. That was the highest build that I found. Yeah, here's 2 Crashing Chaos, or Crashing Chaos, 2 Burn to Ashes, no Grand Warlock's design, which, I mean, GWD makes 2-minute Infernal and makes Crashing Chaos better, obviously. Here's Crashing Chaos, Grand Warlock's design, 2 Burn to Ashes, no Embers, and here's Chaos GWD with Avatar, which is this thing here. TLDR, this build here looks to be the best in single target from what I've seen. There's some other version out there which I haven't caught on to. And the damage profile is interesting. So, looking at this one here, which is my current sim from retail, we're sitting at about 260k burst on pull, and then about 180 roughly 3 minutes later with Infernal. This build, though, the Crashing Chaos Grand Warlock's design Burn to Ashes build, 1 point at 135, you're bursting to about 270k, 280k on pull, a little bit more, but you have your Infernal again, hitting the 200k mark at the 2-minute mark, and then at the 4-minute mark, you're hitting the 220k mark, basically again 2 minutes later. So honestly, the 3k disparity between the two, obviously Crashing Chaos is better in Sims, but like having a damage profile like this compared to this is most of the time much better. Being able to allocate CDs every 2 minutes, this is a 2, well, 2 versus 3, however you want to do it, 2, 3, I live in Florida, whatever, you know what I mean. 2 minutes versus 3, huge, night and day in raiding, in Mythic Plus, I'd assume in arenas and things as well, although CDR in arenas is awkward, but TLDR, Crashing Chaos looks to be better in pure single target. The question then is, where do Trinkets sit? Because Class Trinket at 2 minutes versus 3, there's a lot of added value there. Now, as we know currently on retail, Class Trinket is not the best option for Destruction because you're playing a 3-minute build, right? So 3 minutes, no Class Trinket, comes down, and let's be honest, like, at the same time, without having Crashing Chaos in this form, this being PTR, even when you pop your Infernal, you're not doing insane damage. Your Infernal just brings more shard gen. You're still launching Chaos Bolts and doing a pretty flat damage profile, right? But this Crashing Chaos change brings big damage with your Infernal, so you dump as many bolts as possible with your Infernal. If you're rolling a 6, 7, 8 stack on your Class Trinket, even less, it's still a huge increase to your Chaos Bolts, right? Here's a Trinket sim. 135976, found a little bit more DPS here. Optimizing Trinkets, playing the same build here. Highest Trinket combination. Chromatic Essence, once again, playing all ally buffs here, so keep that in mind. Chromatic Essence with Clash Trinket. Next highest, Chromatic Essence with Spoils and Altheris, Essence with Vessel, Iridius with Essence, And then you have spoils with Class Trinket. Now, once again, depending if you're in a raid setting or a plus setting, or if you don't have full raid buffs from this thing, hey, it's honestly fine. You can just straight up play whatever. Play set 444 as well, which is interesting. I don't know why it's that high, but either way, yeah, you can just straight up play Call the Dominance. You can play spoils, which you can farm from Nothera super easily, and have a very strong 2-minute damage profile, right? I think it drops at 444, actually. I don't remember. Either way, you can upgrade it to 447 next patch with the new currency on the Myth track, but there you go. So, Essence, Vessel, Spoils, still very strong, but Class Trinket gaining a lot of value. And just to show, I can skip ahead a little bit here. So once again, this is the Trinket sim. I have 2 sims here just being single target ones. So here's my current retail sim again, 132351 roughly, and here's the PTR sim gaining about 3k DPS. If you go in here and break this down, so my hardest hitting, let's do both here. My hardest hitting Chaos Bolt on retail without, just to clarify, this retail build is not playing Crashing Chaos. It's playing the best single target build for retail now and all that stuff, right? My hardest hitting Chaos Bolt playing the retail build and all that stuff was, let me see, 337,000 DPS, right? 845. My hardest hitting Chaos Bolt with the PTR build with Crashing Chaos and Clash Trinket and everything else, let's see here, was 900,000. It's a pretty good bit. It's a pretty good bit. So, I mean, you're not going to sustain as much damage, right? You're sustaining roughly, what is this? Like 100k, 105k, 108k with the, Crushing Chaos build comparatively to the other builds sustaining 117, 118, 120. But when your Chaos bolts are hitting for almost 1 million with Clash Trinket buffs and or spoils rolls or whatever, and once again, that's probably like the better spoils roll being on crit or mastery. But you can see the difference here. It's actually pretty big. So moving on from there, people are going to ask next about, okay, AOE, where are we sitting in AOE? Now, these sims here, you can indeed see what gear I'm playing. So we are playing the same build here for both. It's going to be the AOE build. I guess the top part is going to be, Rain of Fire and Inferno. This is the retail build here. We're not playing Crushing Chaos. So for the PTR build, spoilers ahead, the PTR build's lower. You're playing Crashing Chaos in Grand Warlock's design. You're playing Madness and full Ritual, Master Ritualist, Avatar Destruction row. Now, the retail build right here, 731,480. We're looking at just 3-minute Infernal, all that stuff. You're looking at a 40-second 8-target sim. All that. You might be thinking, that's a bit unfortunate. Why? Crushing Chaos empowers 8 Rain of Fires and all that. Why is that? Different damage profiles, number one, but at the same time, this build is playing Chromatic Essence as well as a Iridius Fragment, because 3-minute build Fragment lines up pretty well. Solid damage. This build here is playing Clash Trinket and Spoils of Nothera. So in a 40-second sim, there's no Clash Trinket stacks here when you pop your Infernal. So this is basically a no stack Clash Trinket sim at 690 versus, 2 full Trinkets at 731. Now, interestingly enough, you make these sims longer. Let's say, for example, you go 3 minutes, 8 boss targets, all that, just to try and see the difference between, having no stacks of Clash Trinket and more. The retail sim here, 577, 580. The PTR sim with Crushing Chaos, just to clarify again, retail, right? 3-minute Infernal. PTR, 594, 873, playing Crushing Chaos, playing Grand Warlock's design. If you pull up the HTML report here as well, you can see the difference in damage a bit here, right? You're Infernaling here, roughly in here, 747, 780, jumping a bit here as well. On pull, you're sitting at about 1 million DPS with your Infernal. The pull here, with 3-minute Infernal, a bit higher, 1.05 roughly, but look at this. It's a flat line, right? Comparatively to this, which you have a minor bump here for whatever this is, not even sure at this point. But here's your Infernal again, peaking back to 747, 750 versus a flat line being 500k DPS. Then you peak again here, basically at 3-minute mark with your second Infernal, 3-minute build here. But yeah, so honestly, and this could even be an Infernal again. I'm not even sure. We can look briefly, but Destro can get a very large amount of cooldown reduction in sustained AoE. It actually could be another Infernal. If we look here briefly, which I know where this is at. Here we go. Let's see. We Infernaled. Let's find this here. We Infernal basically at 6 seconds in, and we Infernal again. Let's see. Yeah, at 57 seconds in, which is surprising. Now, it does seem sort of fast, and it is a little fast. This is 8 targets sustained damage. Is this going to happen? Probably not. That is pretty fast, to be fair. But it's also with heroism. all that stuff on pull, right? Which I could run a sim with no heroism or no bloodlust, whatever. It'll make Infernal cooldown reduction longer, so you won't have a 50-ish second Infernal, probably like 120, 115-ish. But we have gotten 1 minute Infernals in testing on sustained 5 target dummy pulls. Is that realistic? Not really, no, but CDR, it's there. You can have short Infernals. So once again, comparatively, having a profile like this, having basically CDs for every pack, like with Infernal, compared to Infernal, a flat line, nothing, then Infernal again, being a little higher, I'll take the 2 minute build. Plus, it's more exciting to play, let's be honest. So, 2.5 minute sim here as well. Retail stuff, 581, 883 versus 2.5 minute sim here with PTR stuff, 596, 775, and a 5 minute sim here, 8 targets, 567 for retail, PTR being 583. So you can see that, like, the longer the sims go, I mean, the more Infernals you get. At the same time, there's almost a trade-off here, because if you're getting a minute Infernal, I mean, we can even pull it up here. If you're getting a minute Infernal, chances are high you probably don't have a crazy amount of Clash Trinket stacks either. So there's a bit of give and take here. It's honestly, AOE Sims and things, it might not even be a Clash Trinket angle depending on what you're doing. But let's see here. So we Infernal right here. How many stacks of Clash Trinket do we have? Can we even see this before we Infernal again? We Infernal again at basically 1 minute. We have, looks like Domineering Arrogance. I don't think you can see how many stacks you have here. I don't believe so. I don't believe you can see stacks here. It doesn't look like it, unfortunately. It just says Domineering Arrogance. There's Call the Dominance being the actual, like, effect, right? The Void Beckons. Yeah. So either way, technically the shorter your Infernal is, the less stacks you have of your Clash Trinket. So it's a bit of give and take there. It might even be, hey, you're playing an Essence and a Vessel kind of angle, or an Essence/Vessel and Spirals on a Theris, right? But either way, it looks like for Destro in AOE, 2 minute Infernal could very easily be back, and in single target, it certainly looks to be back. Oh, and one final little bit here for Destruction before we head to Affliction. I simmed both AOE builds here. So this build, being Mimiron and stuff, this is going to be the Crushing Chaos build, 2 minute build on PTR in single target. And this is going to be the retail build, still playing, you know, Power Overwhelming, all this stuff here, 3 minute Infernal in single target. So retail build being about 122, 400. PTR build with Crushing Chaos being 122, 800. So you actually gained a few hundred DPS for those that were concerned about it. A bit less leeway to move traits around, maybe like Burn to Ashes if you want a bit more. Like you can do it with retail build, I guess, relatively easily. Pull it from like Power Overwhelming or something instead. The actual PTR build a bit tougher because you're playing full Infernal, full Distro, and like 2 points of madness. But either way, the actual build we have on retail currently is fine when it comes to single target, and PTR makes it a little better with a better damage profile. Also, one final thing, for those that are wondering about Dimensional Rift versus Chaos Incarnate, Dimensional Rift is behind, from what I see here, by about 2k DPS. This is about the math. This math checks out, or these sims check out compared to the math we ran too. It's not that far behind. It wasn't even that far behind in the past. Just the 15% buff that I got was nothing, really. It needs to be buffed a decent bit more, but I'd love a world where you have Chaos Incarnate being your best option in like spread Havoc cleave based settings or AOE, and Dimensional Rift being your better option when it comes to like, you know, pure single target settings with a bit of, you know, I guess a bit of quality life of movement factored in for Rifts being able to be open to move on stuff. But at the same time, with abilities like Crushing Chaos being, you know, reworked to give you a huge damage increase, and just the way Destro functions currently, having that guaranteed max mastery benefit with Chaos Incarnate's pretty good. So fingers crossed, more Dimensional Rift buffs, but yeah, either way, if you hate Chaos Incarnate or really want to rock Rifts, probably isn't that big of a deal. So moving on to Affliction, I'll be honest, off the bat, so my retail sim, not a whole lot, okay, not a whole lot actually changed with AF, right? My retail sim, 132.16. This is the build we're playing in retail, it's Haunted Soul build, all that kind of stuff. Now, what's changed on PTR? This is now Xavius's Affliction or whatever it's called. MA is gone. There's no stacking of MA on pull. Whenever MA fall or UA falls, you're moving around. It's just there, right? You put up one, you rapture once, and Dread touches rolling on PTR, all that kind of stuff. Now, this gives up to a 39% unstable affliction damage increase. They have made Xavius's Gambit, I'll just skip ahead. They made Xavius's Gambit 30%. However, they buffed unstable affliction by 10% as well. Now, that's 40 versus 39. I don't know if the 10% is multiplicative on top of the baseline buff. I'm not really sure, I don't think it should equal 5k damage being gained, roughly 132, 1.6 to 135. But it looks to be that I'm gaining 5k DPS somewhere. It's probably a mix of that plus the fact you're gaining more value in your opener because you don't have to rapture 4 times to trigger Dread Touch. It happens with 1 rapture. Not really sure. Either way, so we're playing here. Same build on retail, Haunted Soul stuff. Here's PTR. You're playing Xavius' Gambits. You're playing Haunted Soul, all that. And you are gaining roughly about 4.5k DPS. I want to verify this somewhere and just make sure what's going on, but I've dug through the log. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see it like holding trinkets or anything weird or messing anything up. The only thing that changes is literally this icon. That's it. Like, so it's just MA to Xavius' Gambit. But either way, looks to be a decent DPS gain. AF already being pretty solid in single target. We'll see where it goes. This is the Haunted Soul build. Now, the Malevolent Visionary build. This build sims higher on retail once you acquire your class trinket because you're playing Dark Lair, you're playing Malevolent Visionary, which gives Dark Lair more eye beam damage, all that kind of stuff. Good with your class trinket, all that. You're playing Soul Rot here as well, so bigger raptures and everything. Retail, my sim is right around 131.5. PTR, we increased to 136.5. So a pretty much almost the exact same increase here from these two, both Malevolent Visionary comparatively to Haunted Soul, being give or take a little bit of DPS. So it looks to be consistent across the board. Not sure what causing it exactly, but either way, it's there. Half stuff, not a whole lot changing. The build looks to be mostly the same. Now here are the Affliction AOE Sims playing the new build. So just to verify, or I guess clarify, or whatever, DB Doom Blossom. So Doom Blossom, Grim Reach, Doom Blossom, Dark Harvest. This is Grim Reach, Dark Harvest, Doom Blossom, Haunted Soul, Dread Touch, Grim Reach, and Dread Touch, Haunted Soul. These builds are indeed playing Seed of Corruption, and so they're just a bit more single target oriented, all that stuff. They all play Soul Flame, which you can't account for here in Sims and all that. They're all playing Siphon Life, all playing Vile Taint. Only thing that changes are these capstone talents, right? Now, I'm not too surprised to see Doom Blossom and Grim Reach this high. Like I said, Doom Blossom, it's a good bit of your damage. 800k sim, roughly 8 targets, 40 seconds, hitting about 1 million DPS here, which is about what Destra hit in their opener too. Damage breakdown. Doom Blossom, 17.4% of your damage. Seed being a lot too, at 31 obviously. Dark Lair being 13 with Grim Reach, and his other damage being, I don't know, 2.5% here roughly, but being pretty solid, right? Now, when it comes to, I guess, more single target, well, I mean, you can see here the prio target / boss damage builds here. Doom Blossom Grim Reach being up here at 174, 915, which this is not pure single target. It's more like, I guess, funnel-esque kind of damage in a, 8 target base setting. I do want to show briefly the damage in a pure single target setting playing these builds. Once again, all these builds have seed, and so this is literally this. I copied these profiles and made it a 5-minute 1 target sim. Dread Touch, Haunted Soul, Dread Touch, Grim Reach being the highest builds here, unsurprisingly, because Dread Touch and everything like that. Grim Reach, Dark Harvest, Doom Blossom, Dark Harvest, Doom Blossom, Haunted Soul, Doom Blossom, Grim Reach. So Doom Blossom Grim Reach goes from being the strongest build at 800k in AoE to being, well, the lowest build here in single target, but it's only behind by about 11,000 DPS, which is like, what, 9%, 10% roughly. And that's a lot of DPS, to be fair, in single target and all that. But also, this is a 5-minute sim comparatively to running, let's say, a 40-second sim. And playing a build with Grim Reach and everything, it will vary a bit if you have Dark Lair for a shorter boss versus a longer boss, all that kind of stuff, class trinket stacks and everything. But, I mean, TLDR, Doom Blossom Grim Reach looks to crank in AoE, unsurprisingly. Doom Blossom Dark Harvest is not sitting terribly in single target. You're only behind by about 8% DPS at 108 versus 105 here, if you're looking for something like that, which that build was fine to play too. Pretty fun, not too bad. And, the third highest build here being Grim Reach Dark Harvest, which we're playing right now in retail, 738. The third highest build overall. I guess some people are playing it at retail, but either way. 738, and over here being right about 111, 087. So either way, Doom Blossom is a bit of a hit in, I guess, well, single target if you look at it, but sort of expected. That doesn't work at all in single target comparatively to what it did before, which it sort of did, with it being based around Rapture and all that kind of stuff. Now it's just seed damage. But either way, hopefully, I mean, if you can go into a boss, these builds are indeed, I guess, well, if you have Clash Trinket and can play it, and roll into a boss with these stacks here. I have Sims here also for the Clash Trinket build, just to clarify. This is a Clash Trinket sim. Every build here has class on it, right? Every build here is playing a Clash Trinket, right? This is just indicating for all these Sims. So this is no Clash Trinket Sims. These are Class Trinket Sims, right? If you can roll into a boss with a huge like stack of Class Trinket, playing Grim Reach, whether you're playing Doom Blossom or not, chances are pretty high you're going to pump that boss into the ground. This is also a 3-minute sim comparatively to, well, 40 here, a bit more of a, I guess, sustained AOE kind of setting. But either way, to summarize it all, Doom Blossom Grim Reach looks to be really, really strong in AOE, unsurprising. At the same time, Doom Blossom Dark Harvest looks to be good. When it comes to single target, Doom Blossom is a bit of DPS loss compared to the Dread Touch builds, obviously. Even a build playing Grim Reach and Dark Harvest, a bit of a loss there. But either way, not the biggest loss. And depending on what you need, I mean, none of these builds even factor in Soul Flame. Can't factor it in. To a similar extent, these builds are also playing Wrath of Consumption, which you can't factor in here either. So while it might say 800k, while it might say, 511 or 510 in the longer sims, chances are high it's likely a bit higher. And with a 1.5-second seed cast time and, Doom Blossom cranking that much, AF looks to be positioned, I guess, to be pretty strong, possibly. Fingers crossed with the changes to MA, I guess the removal of MA, and Doom Blossom changes and shorter seed cast time in M+. So fingers crossed for 10.15 that we'll get to play a fun AF spec for more than 3 days like we got to do in a 10.05. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully the video answered the questions you might have had about, I guess, Destro and AF heading into patch 10.1.5. I guess the later parts of PTR and all that. I would assume we've got 3 to 4 weeks until the PTR, I guess, is finished and it hits retail, which when it does, I mean, Warlock's getting some pretty big changes. The one, I guess, 2 changes to Crushing Chaos and Dimensional Rift. I mean, Crushing Chaos is a big one for Destro. It looks to be pretty big, pretty fun. Damage, the Sims might not be much higher than we have now, but at the same time, that damage profile, 2 versus 3, is actually a pretty big deal. And Affliction, hey, I mean, AF AOE looks pretty decent. At the same time, the single target doesn't look that bad either, and there's no Malefic Affliction. So huge quality life changes there. And I guess we'll see where Demonology goes and all that kind of stuff. Like I mentioned, week course add-ons, links to Twitch and Discord down below, for free for you guys. Before we end the video, I also want to give one huge shout out to my patrons. Like always, thank you guys for all support on Patreon. A million times. I really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here, as well as down below in the video description. It's funny, I mentioned it last video, but I keep coming back to it. I feel like every single patch, 10.0.5, 10.1, 10.1.5, and even like, I guess, where we started in early beta to later beta, Warlock has slowly gotten, at least to me, a bit more enjoyable every patch. Long-term goals, I guess long-term being 10.2, maybe Grand Warlock's design on the Clash tree, hopefully getting Grim Feast out of there, because that's a dead talent basically everywhere, but we'll see where it goes. And yeah, just keep improving upon Warlock stuff and hope, fingers crossed for a good tier in 10.2, which honestly, looking at the calendar, I give it max 2 months and we're in 10.2 PTR. It could even be earlier. So buckle up. It's slow now, but it might get busy pretty soon. So all that being said, thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. Helps out a ton. And I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.